So I wanted to talk a little bit about the connection sequence, because I've briefly mentioned it, like we can be connected to different like layers, depths of connection. Sometimes I think maybe last time I probably spoke about it earlier on, but I think it's nice to share it now when you're starting to have these nice moments of feeling connected. But just to explain that there's a big, long pathway you could explore with connection. So, there is. It is in the book. So, again, this is like, it's not a hard truth. This is just like a framework that helps us conceptualize different depths of connection. So to start with, when we notice that we're disconnected, that's the beginning. That's the first step onto the pathway for connection. Of course, like, as we know, we're never really disconnected, but it feels like we are, and we haven't been using our awareness in a connected kind of way. So we might notice that we're in our solo site and we're so distracted by other thoughts that we're not being present to the moment. So therefore your awareness is like disconnected from the beings of nature around you. Or it might be like, I might look over there and go, oh wow, I haven't even noticed that tree at all the whole time I've been here. So I'm going to contemplate that tree, and what have I been missing? And so once I start directing my attention and using my senses, which is often what we're doing with vision, then I become connected to a certain extent. My awareness is touching that being of nature, and we're connected in some way like that. Then, when you stay with that, so as we can slow down and relax, open the heart, we can get to a really beautiful state called communion. So when we're really feeling our common unity with a being of nature, or it could be with, a landscape or an area. So you still feel like I'm over here and the tree is over there, but there's a commonality between you, and it starts to like feel quite palpable. It's not just I understand in my mind that we're interconnected, but I actually really start to feel that unity. And that is a beautiful state. Haven't given you this sequence to say by the end of these 3 days you're expected to be in full source awareness. It's just to encourage you that, once you have one lovely experience, don't stop there. Like, stay with it so that it continues to deepen and deepen. So if you go into a really deep state in your solo site, like sometimes it happens when people are just really relaxed, like they'll lie down on a rock or something and they suddenly realize that they're not feeling any sense of separation between themselves and the rock. So it's like this feeling of like, I am the rock. And that usually gets your mind thinking, but that can't be. And then it creates more of a separation. But for a moment, there's this experience of pure unity where there's no separation between yourself and the being of nature that you're with. That really starts to get quite trippy. And really a lot changes from there. Like, it's hard to sort of go back from that experience. It's like you've suddenly felt something that, seems to be something that's a real truth and you want to know more about it. So yeah, no going back from there. If you stay with it, you may then experience that sense of unity with everything around you, and that's what we call mandalic awareness. So in the mandala of life unfolding within you, around you, above and below you, you experience a complete non-dual moment. Again, very trippy. So this is where like you start to even get maybe altered perception. Like sometimes people get sort of visual phenomena, maybe like seeing rainbows or starting to see energy. Trust me, it can happen. And nature makes it easy. So, so often we there's a lot of, spiritual practice that happens outside of connection with nature, but when we're in nature, it suddenly becomes a very accessible experience. And if you can look beneath the sphere of nature around you, and where is all this wondrousness arising from, then we might have a little glimpse of source awareness. Other people might call it God, the creator, like this normally outside of our normal perception that we can have faith in, but when our awareness is merged with it for that moment, that we become aware of the source of where all creation is stemming from. That's what we call source awareness. So no expectations that this is an experience that you have on this program. That's why, we do like long solos and stay out overnight and practice fasting, and, there usually is a lot more around going for that really sort of profound spiritual experience like that. But you're on the pathway through what we're doing here. And hopefully seeing this framework, even though it's not necessarily all for this program or an expectation, hopefully it's something that you can take with you. And if you continue to explore this as a pathway to natural awareness, natural liberation, then you can use that as a little kind of guidepost along the way. Even if all those, especially the further down ones, don't make sense, does the idea of this deepening state of connection resonate, make sense? Encouragement to keep going. Yes, good. Lovely. Okay, so I've got a question there for you to journal in your workbooks. When do you feel most connected in nature? What are the inner and outer conditions for you? So if you bring to mind a moment when you felt the deepest connection, what were you doing before that happened? How were you feeling? Where were you? What seems to get you in the deeper state the most? A little exercise for breathing for down-regulating your nervous system. So that means if we notice that we're holding stress and tension in our bodies, that will be showing up in our nervous system, and we can lower the excitement of our nervous system, or otherwise known as the stress in our nervous system, by using our breathing. So wonderfully, there's been lots of investigation into breathing, breath work. That vagus nerve that I was talking about, breath work is one of the main ways to be able to tone the vagus nerve as well. So much more is known about the role of breathing on our nervous system, which is very helpful. So you can get quite specific breathing protocols to do different things, but on a very basic level, like just to calm yourself down, just taking a few conscious breaths where your inhale is the same pace as your exhale, that will help calm it down. But even better, if you have a breathing protocol where your exhale is a little bit longer than your inhale, that helps slow your nervous system down even more. So that's what we're going to try. So get yourself in a position where it's easy for you to breathe. And if you're someone who likes to close their eyes so you can feel more internally, go right ahead. You won't need to really watch me demonstrating much here. But just begin to pay attention to your breathing without trying to change anything for the moment. Just notice the sensation of breathing, and notice how much stress or tension you might be feeling at this point in time. So very simply, we're going to inhale to the count of 4, and then we're going to exhale to the count of 6. So just so we're all in the same time, take one deep inhale together, and exhale together, and then we'll start inhaling to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just keep going with that in your own time. If you're finding that count, you could even extend it a little bit further. You're welcome to extend the exhale longer, or even move to a count of like 5 in and 10 out, depending on how easy you find it to breathe. And just return to normal breath. So not trying to do anything in particular. And slowly open your eyes. To keep that peaceful feeling going, when you open your eyes, just have a little moment of an open field of vision. So feeling nice and relaxed? Slowed down? Yeah. So it's really quite, it's quite simple. The hard part is like becoming aware of the need to like shift our state of being. Once we're aware of it, there's quite a few things that we can do, whether that's the conscious relaxation like we did yesterday, of releasing tension in our bodies, or using a breathing technique like that. I think the nice thing about a breathing protocol is like once you've got a structure, like you've got a protocol that you need to follow, it's much easier for the mind to just be okay. Like I'm going to just occupy myself with counting, basically. So it's easy to stay focused, or easier. Distraction will always come in, but yeah. So some other tips for helping shift your state of being that I've got in there are playfulness, which we've discussed. Curiosity is a great tool to use. And even if you're not feeling curious, you can kind of manufacture it. So if you just go, okay, well, I'm finding it hard to be present in my sight, like, what can I do? Start to just ask yourself, like, I wonder why the ants prefer to climb up that side of the tree, and then just watch and observe and let your own mind, like, decide for itself what it wants to, like, be present to and be curious about. You can even use it, like, curiosity is, like, the essential thing for even doing things like tracking. So you need to use curiosity in that circumstance to get yourself in the mind, like, where did the deer go from this point? Like, yeah, I can see its tracks finish here. Where did it go from there? And then you can start to be curious about, well, what would the deer have been thinking in that moment, and use that kind of way of questioning for yourself to help shift your perspective and engage yourself in different ways, to be present to what's around you. So, on the topic of curiosity, the final question is, what about nature am I becoming curious about as I spend time in my solo spot? And if you haven't thought of something to be curious about yet, now's your chance.